Chapter 25. United Front. The battlefield was ablaze with chaos and courage. Smoke coiled around the cracked stones of Majula's great courtyard, and from the wreckage of collapsed towers and scorched earth, he rose again. Ragnar, the Fell. Armor scorched, blackened, and cracked from the earlier onslaught, yet still radiating raw power. His helm gleamed under the blood-red sky, and his twisted laughter echoed like thunder rolling through hell.
"Was that supposed to hurt?" Ragnar sneered, his voice laced with mockery.
He stepped forward, and then, boom! In an instant, he blitzed forward, faster than any could react. Crash! Caleb and Terence were sent flying, their bodies smashing into the castle walls like shattered dolls. The stone trembled from the force of the impact.
"No!" Francis roared, charging with scimitars drawn, Gabriel and Lilith at his side.
"Together!" Gabriel shouted, his great sword crackling with dark energy. They struck as one, synchronized and fierce.
But Ragnar twisted midair, dodged Gabriel's swing, grabbed him by the throat, and smashed him into the earth like a meteor. Lilith leapt in, daggers aiming for his throat, but with a snarl, Ragnar kicked her midair, sending her body spiraling into a stone pillar that exploded on contact. Francis gave a battle cry, leaping into the air with both blades gleaming, but Ragnar caught him effortlessly, as if grabbing a fly. Wham, wham, wham. 3 brutal punches to the gut, then a final slam into the ground, cracking the stone beneath him. From atop the walls, Will and Yunhai saw their comrades fall.
"No more waiting! Fire!" Will roared, unleashing a storm of arrows, his high elves following suit. A cascade of silver rained down.
Yunhai descended with Oak, her treefolk general. Shield raised, mace glowing, she aimed to strike while Will provided cover. Elaru and Leonidas joined the fray, flanking Ragnar from both sides. A flurry of steel and magic erupted, blinding and intense. But Ragnar, unstoppable, met it all head-on. He shattered Yunhai's shield with a backhand strike and snapped Oak's arm with a devastating knee. Elaru tried to drive his blade through Ragnar's side, but with a cold glare, Ragnar punched clean through his stomach and tossed him aside like scrap. Will fired an enchanted arrow point blank, but Ragnar caught it midair and slammed both Will and Leonidas into the wall, leaving them motionless in the debris.
"No!" Izashi screamed, electricity crackling as he descended like a thunderbolt.
Olga, fearless and feral, followed with a roar, leading a charge of red orcs, but Ragnar met them both with a terrifying calm. With a twist of his hammer, he redirected Izashi's thunder, slamming him into the earth, and smashed Olga aside with such force the ground cratered where she landed. And still, the shadow marched forward. Then, 2 radiant lights from the rear of the battlefield, Audra and Rudra.
"Fall back!" Rudra commanded, her hourglass glowing, magic dancing on her fingertips.
"Not yet," Audra growled, her skin shifting into a gleaming obsidian form. "We'll make him bleed."
Together, they launched a coordinated attack, stone and time colliding. Audra summoned a spike of crystal to impale Ragnar, while Rudra attempted to slow time itself. The battlefield warped, bending under her magic, and for a moment, Ragnar slowed. Audra struck. Crack, a solid hit, stone shattering against Ragnar's armor. But then, time snapped back. Ragnar's hand closed around Audra's throat. With a snarl, he threw her into Rudra, sending both queens tumbling down the marble steps of the great hall.
No, 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 Koga whispered from the battlements, gripping the railing. He's unstoppable.
Across the field, the heroes lay broken, scattered, their armies thinning. The world teetered on the edge of ruin. Ragnar raised his hammer, dark energy swirling.
This world will kneel.
And then a wind began to stir, a light beyond the darkness. The battle wasn't over. Not yet. Blood-soaked earth, shattered weapons, scorched skies. The heroes of Majula stood, barely. Bones fractured, armor dented, spirits hanging by threads. Yet not broken. They rose. One by one, with fire in their eyes, they refused to fall. The 7 chosen, bruised and bloodied, stood as one. Their spirits, once flickering flames, now burned like infernos.
This isn't the end, Caleb growled, ice crackling beneath his boots.
Not while we still breathe, Izashi added, thunder dancing in his eyes.
A roar echoed across the battlefield. The generals emerged beside them. Molg, sapphire-clad and grim. Zikor, fanged sword gripped tight. Oak, reformed and resolute. Lilith, limping but deadly. Ilaru, clutching his wound, still ready to die for his lord. Leonidas, blade in hand, gaze defiant. And then, the spirits arrived.
Caleb's voice bellowed. Great King Mundus! Kurao Kami!
2 divine titans emerged behind him. One wreathed in ice, the other a dragon of absolute zero.
Izashi raised his spear. Kirin, thunder god of the skies, lend me your wrath. Kirin struck lightning into the battlefield as the thunder dragon descended.
Will's magic glowed golden. Dozens of radiant blades spinning midair, whistling with divine energy. Francis howled into the void, channeling his soul into a colossal figure. A knight forged of shadow and vengeance rose beside him, the embodiment of his darkness given form. Terrence's beastly form surged with fury. His full body armament roared to life, flames erupting from every pore, turning him into a walking inferno of destruction. And in the center, Yunhei and Rudra, hands clasped, wove a spell of impossible beauty. A surge of restorative power burst forth. Bones healed, wounds sealed, souls reinvigorated. All at once, the tide turned.
Charge! Gabriel bellowed.
And so, they did. The 7 chosen, their spirits and their armies, stormed Ragnar like a hurricane of vengeance. Blades clashed, magic exploded, light met shadow. Ragnar, for the first time, strained. His hammer swung, his roars echoed. But for everyone he downed, 2 more stood in their place. The sheer unity of the chosen overwhelmed him. Then,
Enough! Ragnar's voice tore through reality.
the world turned black. Everything stopped. Sound, movement, even hope. A massive orb began to form in his hand. Onigiri. Francis's eyes widened.
No, not again. It's the same one, Izashi shouted. That's the move that killed me. We have to stop him now or we're dust.
The message rippled across the battlefield. Every soul, chosen, general, spirit, soldier, charged toward Ragnar in a desperate push. But it was too late. With a snarl of triumph, Ragnar unleashed Onigiri. A shockwave of annihilation spread outward. Reality began to unravel. Until Dash. Time stopped. literally.
This is our second chance. Rudra stood amidst the void, her fingers trembling as she turned the hourglass for the second time.
And then, snap. Time rewound. The moment before Onigiri's release returned.
Now! All together! Shouted Rudra.
The 7 raised their weapons. Spirits surged behind them. Magic, soul, and fury combined. They unleashed a combined attack, each element roaring forward. Izashi's lightning, Caleb's ice, Terrence's fire, Will's light, Francis's darkness, Yunhai's wind, Audra's earth. 7 pillars of elemental fury collided into Ragnar's body, just as he lifted his hand. Boom! His armor cracked. His flesh burned. His entire right arm exploded in a storm of blood and void light. Ragnar screamed, a shriek that shook the heavens. He staggered, breathing heavily. Fury etched across his face. And then he changed. His body pulsed, darkness flooding the field. The ground shattered, and the sky turned red. Ragnar roared, a sound that tore open the clouds. Wings of black flame erupted from his back. Horns lengthened, armor twisted, and his eyes glowed crimson. The very air vibrated with despair.
You, he growled, his voice now layered with demonic resonance. You will now know the true meaning of despair.
And with that, Ragnar the Fell transformed into something far, far worse. Ragnar, the Abyssborn.